Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next chapter in From Nothing, Kaelan's story. We resume in the next day. Do you think after your fishing escapades and such, would Kaelan wake up on time?
I think so. Actually, I kind of wanted to ask about him coming back to the dorm. Was the flag still there and untouched on his front door?
It was not tampered with.
Okay. All right. Um. All right. Cool. Yeah. Then he would definitely wake up on time.
Okay.
Um. He's kind of an early riser.
So then does he go
Um.
to breakfast or do you just go straight to class?
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So yeah.
Okay. In that case, if you eat breakfast provided by the golems in the mess hall, you gain 4 temporary hit points. Make a note of that.
Great. Awesome.
And when you arrive at the Ranger's classroom, you pull it up. You see that Tier and Triss are there. Tier has only just arrived right before you. You also notice that Triss is... She's seated on a log and is currently, you recognize, fletching.
Cool.
And as you enter, she looks up at you and she says, "Morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to see you on time. I was worried I'd have to come get you."
No, I'm an early riser. Always have been.
"Well, that's good to hear."
So, what are we doing this morning?
She kind of gestures at the woods that you're in and she says, "I have some tasks for you out in the Skywood."
All right.
"Are you comfortable just out in the general forest?"
I'd say I'm pretty comfortable. Yeah.
"Do you know what a
Although
tangle root is?"
tangle root. Um,
Roll
can I
me a
make it
nature.
in? Cool. Ah, I missed these dice. That's pretty good.
An 18. Yeah, you've heard of tangle root. You've never seen one. They're pretty uncommon. They're hard to find. And it's because tangle root is a unique sort of... It's almost like a parasite. It's a weed that grows underneath the roots of a tree that have uprooted themselves a little bit. So they're hard to find.
I have heard of them. They're a parasite of sorts for trees, right?
Triss nods. She says, "Aye. The first... The first step of today is I need you to find some out here in the Skywood. After that, I need you to find me some snakewood bark. You know what that looks like." Again, this is going to be another nature check.
Okay. Eh.
12? No, you do not.
I might need it.
You might need some refresher here.
I might need a refresher on that one. I haven't seen much of it.
Triss nods, and she sets down the arrow she was working on. And she pulls out a tome, and she shuffles through it until she finds the right page, which she shows to you. And it's interesting because the snakewood bark that she shows you, it looks like any old tree bark, except that the grains of the bark grow as if snake scales.
Huh. You know, coming from Phobos, I think this would probably be common, right? Or
No, it's
somewhat
not common.
common.
It's not common.
Oh.
It's more like it's influenced by magic, is what makes it uncommon.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
Um, she says, "There is some of that in this forest as well, and I need you to bring me 3 pounds of it."
3 pounds of the snakewood bark. Uh, how much for the tanglewood? And he's like got a little notepad
A
and
whole,
a pencil.
a whole tangleroot, if you could.
All right.
And lastly, I need a vial of torpensap.
Torpensop.
So I need you to roll me a nature for this as well to see if you know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that Torpensap it's a kind of, well, you know that it's rumored as of a dangerous poison. But what it actually it's the venom from a particular flower.
Oh.
It's called
Okay.
the flower is called a torperin. And Torpensap is basically the venom from that flower concentrated. And if you should be touched by the thorn of a torperin, you're paralyzed.
Oh. Right. I'm doing this by myself. Yes.
That's what we're here for.
All right. I got it.
If you can't work alone, you can't help a team. You gotta learn how to fend for yourself first.
That makes sense.
Again,
I'll
you're
be
in my class, so I know where you are. But if you're in trouble, just holler. We'll be around.
What if I can't holler? I'm paralyzed like that. I think I'll figure it out. I don't think I'll do it, or I'll be paralyzed.
She
Never
raises
mind.
an eyebrow and she says, "Maybe don't touch the thorns."
Uh, I know about him, so I'll keep my mind on not touching him.
She smiles at you and she says, "Well, off you go. You have until class ends at 3 o'clock this afternoon."
Right. See you later then.
I'll be here, as she continues fletching the arrows. You do make brief eye contact with Tier as you're leaving, and he just kind of shrugs at you.
He'll kind of like do like a little nonchalant salute from the eyebrow as he darts off into the woods. Yeah, let's go ahead and try to find these things.
Okay.
I
Do you have
think
any
he's
ideas
gonna
on
go.
how you're gonna do that?
I think he's gonna go after the hardest thing first and get that out of the way. Out of the three, I assume the flower is the most dangerous.
To you, yes, it is the most dangerous.
Okay. So we'll try to find the smallest thing first, and then work our way up.
You know that a torperin flower it's a common flower in very certain climates. This climate, you feel like it might be a little bit more uncommon in because it's fairly cold up here. But what you're looking for is a yellow flower with 3 petals that has a white core to it.
Okay. I guess gonna keep my head on a swivel, look for it.
Well, you're the
Yeah.
ranger. How do you think you would search for this?
Oh, if it likes warmer climate, it would definitely be not up so high and more. What is downhill from here?
So
I would try to go downhill more to more temperate climate if it's too cold
roll
for the
survival.
flower. Oh,
Natural 20, 27. Okay, yeah. You kind of head westerly. From what you can tell by the sun's height, you believe that should you head to the west, the terrain likely will stoop down. And it might not be warm, quote unquote, but it won't be as cool as it is up where you are, right in the entrance to this quote unquote classroom. And as you head into the forest deep, it's a long hike before you start actually finding a real decline. But as you make your way, roll me an investigation check.
Ooh. Okay. No way I can do perception on this. So just looking for. I'm looking for small things. That makes
You
sense.
are specifically looking for a flower.
Okay.
With a 7, you're not having much luck. It is difficult to spot a specific little like crest of flowers in the dense underbrush and undergrowth in the forest of the Skywood. And as you are searching, I need you to roll me a D100.
Okay.
Because this is a forest and there are random encounters.
Yeah, another great success.
16. Okay. I remind you, this is not Call of Cthulhu.
uh, well, that's either really bad or really good. So
As you are making your way through the forest, you're pushing between the trees, and suddenly, the forest takes a different appearance to you. It's almost. The word is tended to. It's almost as though someone is making sure the location that you're traveling through is pretty to look at. It seems as though the trees and branches are clipped and organized, and the leaves and underbrush are not cleaned up by any means, but it's as if there is an aesthetic to it. Roll me a nature check.
okay.
17. There's something about that fact. This unusual aesthetic that you've entered into that makes you feel like there's something important about that, and you can't quite remember what it is. Roll me a perception.
The player thing, he knows what's happening here.
23. It is autumn in this forest. The air is cool, the smell of fallen leaves is unavoidable, as if a constant overlay to anything else that your scent, your aromas take up. As you're looking around and taking in the sights of the forest, and you're looking for this flower, in your peripheral vision you catch sight of a beautiful elven woman with dark hair. As you catch sight of her, she suddenly tries to hide behind the tree.
In Elvish. Hello there. I don't mean you any harm. I'm just looking for something.
Roll me a persuasion.
Oh.
21. Did you mean that? This truly is a persuasion, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
No reason to lie.
Emerging from next to you, near another tree, this beautiful elven woman dressed in clothes that look like it's made from the forest itself, like leaves and branches interwoven into a dress. She emerges from the tree next to you and she says, "Oh, well, what are you looking for?"
Can you give me the spelling of the flower that I'm looking for in chat?
Yeah.
So I can put it in my notes. I'm looking for Taporin. Are there any around here?
She seems to regard you, and she looks around and she says, "I'm sure there's some if you look close enough." Out of curiosity, would you consider Kaelan a handsome person?
Yeah, in kind of like a rugged type of way, like a yeah, yeah. He does a lot of things outside and physical activity. So yeah, I think he's a
He's a good
fairly
looking guy. Okay.
good-looking guy.
She says, well, what do you need it for?
Um, well, I just need the venom from it. It's supposedly good for something. I was told to go grab it. So,
Oh, it certainly is good for some things. But you'd come into, you know, my woods and take with nothing to give?
well, I can trade for it. I can do you a favor or see what I have to give.
Well, what do you
Um,
have to give?
well, I good with my hands. I could make you something.
Keep
What's
going.
your name? First, before I.
Loflia.
It's a pretty name. I'm Kaelan.
It's a less pretty name. But you have a pretty face. So I forgive you.
I'll chuckle. Uh, well, I suppose I should thank you for that. Uh, but I'm a woodworker of sorts. I can craft and carve anything you want out of wood.
Well, so long as it's dead, I'll not have you harming anything that grows in my grove.
Well, of course not. I'm actually pretty good with driftwood.
I'll tell you what. If you come up with something worth my while, I'll take you right to the pesky little flower you're looking for.
Okay. Well, I guess I should ask you this. What's your favorite animal?
You see that she kind of smirks a little bit. Uh, I'm quite fond of a wolf.
Well, wolf it is. And he'll put his bag down and take a knee and search through it. And I imagine he has his tools with him, um,
It's up to you.
with a small block of wood that he was making something or was going to work on something, and it's the first makings of it,
Okay.
but it's not near finished. So he takes out that block of wood. Uh, well, this will be a quick jog, but I feel it, I'm talking too much. Let me get to it. And he'll sit down, cross-legged, and begin to carve out a wolf.
Okay. She watches you as you carve it. She kind of almost circles you, watching as you work, and occasionally she'd just run like a couple fingers across the back of your shoulders. And as you're working, she would say, you are good with your hands. You could just stay here with me, after all. I could always use the company. As she says that, I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh boy. Uh, okay.
17. Uh,
Whew.
don't worry about it. She just seems very persuasive.
Right. I could. You have a beautiful garden here. If I could call it a garden, is it a garden?
It's my grove. It's my home.
I see. Uh,
Why don't you go
The
ahead?
player knows what this is.
Yeah, I know you
But okay.
Roll me a dexterity plus proficiency check for your woodworking.
Okay. I'm just gonna roll a stealth check because that is okay.
16.
Well,
Takes you a good half an hour. And all the while,
okay.
she basically spends time trying to convince you to spend time with her in the grove. But you've already succeeded on your wisdom save, so you feel no magical inclination to do so. And when you finish the carving of the wolf with a 16, it looks just like a wolf. Some of the more intricate details are more simple than you might have liked, but it is unmistakably a wolf, and you are particularly proud of the shape of the head.
He'll gently blow the sawdust off of it, and sand a little bit here and there as he finishes. But he'll present it on the palm of his hand to I'm so terrible with names. Loflian.
Yes.
Can I get that spelling too?
Sure.
He'll present it to Loflian. Loflian. Okay.
Elf name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She takes it and holds it up between careful fingers, and she says, "Truly a craftsman."
Thank you.
We made a deal.
And I've upheld mine.
Follow me.
I'll nod.
She begins to lead the way into the forest, and she is not tall. She's maybe 5 feet tall flat. But she moves smoothly and quickly through the woods, and you find yourself almost struggling to keep track of where this woman goes. Finally, however, she leads you to a small clearing where it is clear the sun's light can easily glare down into this opening, this grove, this glade. And she kneels down by the small pool of what looks like maybe it's a small pond, and she gestures, and you see that there is a small cluster of torporin. Small yellow-white flowers with very wicked white-tipped thorns that protrude out from beneath the head of the flower.
And I assume with the natural 20, I would know the process of extracting the venom.
Yeah, you know how to. It's simply enough. You take your dagger and you cut off the thorn, and the sap that leaks is what you need.
With her watching, he will take care in not taking too much from the flower. Like he'll get just enough of what he needs, and then seal the vial with a cork.
When you finish, Lothlian is still nearby, and you see that she has the wolf that she has kind of tied with a small piece of vine. It's now tied against her dress by her hip. And before anything else, as you stand with your vial of the sap, she runs a finger across your cheek and says, "I can't convince you to spend a little more time with me here."
Sorry, but I have things to do.
A shame. Well, should you find yourself in my grove once more, I'll find you.
It was good meeting you, and I hope to see you again.
She smiles at you and she waves. And you watch as she moves 10 feet away from you, and walks into a tree.
Wow. All right. Huh. Would have to ask about that. Uh, he'll pause for a good moment, looking at the tree, just kind of going over that interaction in his mind before shaking it off and heading back up the hill to try and find his other quarries.
Okay. You have found your first assigned ingredient.
Awesome. Uh,
Next.
okay, yeah. Next, I will try to find the bark.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need to search specifically for one of these trees, which you know is created, well, basically from what she told you, is influenced by magic. So, how is it that you're going to find such a tree?
Well, Kaelan's not really, hasn't really dealt with anything magical in his past. Not like this.
Sure.
So he'll just kind of scan the trees for what would look like this bark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So roll me an investigation. The DC's pretty high.
Okay. Dang it.
It's not perception.
Ay.
You begin to walk through the forest, searching for a tree that has this bark. You're not making much progress. You do not see any tree that obviously looks as though the bark is laced together like snake scales. You just don't see any tree that looks like that. And it's maybe you've been walking for an hour or two, by the time you've walking for 2 hours, you're maybe getting frustrated as you just maybe you've already seen it and you don't know. It's bothersome.
At the hour mark, he'll be kind of frustrated with himself. Gotta find a different approach to this. What would there's an old saying that his grandfather used to tell him, is that the forest speaks if you listen hard enough. So he's just gonna center himself, sit down, and close his eyes and let his ears listen to the forest and try to tap into his surroundings that way.
Okay.
Hopefully.
How much time do you spend doing this?
Well, he's got till 3.
Sure.
So I think he'll spend, I'd say, 15 minutes just trying to listen to the forest.
Roll me a perception.
Okay.
You've been sitting there for about 7 minutes when you hear the cracking of twig near you. Do you look?
Uh, yes, I do.
When you open your eyes and you turn and look, you see there is a black-haired halfling who has just climbed down out of a tree. And when she turns and looks at you, you see that her face is covered in tattoos. That's what she looks like.
Have I gotten a description from Triss about this individual?
You remember her saying that one of the other ranger students was named Knox, and she was covered in tattoos.
Hello?
Hey.
Are you Nox?
Yes.
Ah. I don't think we've met. I'm a new student. I'm Kaelan.
She seems to be kind of regarding you, and she looks you up and down. She says, I heard. And she kind of steps up and says, what are you doing?
I having a bit of trouble with finding the spark that I'm supposed to collect. So I'm doing a bit of meditating to see if I can center myself to try and find it.
Does it work for you?
Don't know yet. I'll let you know if it happens, if it works.
She sits down.
Are you on the same mission as I am?
No.
All right. And do you think you can tell me or point me in the right direction of where I could find this spark?
You see her, she kind of tilts her head. She thinks about it, and she says, what kind of bark was it?
He will say the name of the bark.
Snakewood.
The snakewood bark.
She says, You see that her lip kind of quirks up a little bit. You know what magic smells like?
Not really. What does it smell like?
She looks at you, looking like she's considering messing with you. You get with your passive insight at 13. But eventually she says, mild, like the air after lightning.
I know what that smells like. Okay. So you're saying I should just follow my nose then?
She smiles and says, have you been looking with your eyes?
It hasn't done me much good.
She shakes her head.
Well, yes, All right. Thank you for your help.
I didn't do nothing.
You may not know you did something, but you helped me. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You see she frowns and she says, no, I didn't do nothing.
Is she trying to like hint at something for just
You can insight check if you want.
sure. Why did my temp hit points go away?
natural 20.
That's okay. Well,
With a 23, she doesn't think she helped you. She thinks that you probably knew the answer.
if you need any help with anything, I owe you one.
No.
I thought so. I'll see you later. Until follow his nose and try to pick up the scent of that mild scent that she described.
Roll perception.
Okay. Oh man.
12. Takes you a long time. Takes you a good 30 minutes. And it might be a little easier, except for the fact that you realize after a brief stint of walking that Nox is following you.
Okay.
She doesn't interrupt you. She doesn't try to talk to you, but she follows you as you're walking. And as you're trying to smell the air and catch the scent of this smell that she's described and the one that you know, after 30 minutes, you catch it. That almost tinge of ozone.
Okay. He'll try to pinpoint the direction of it.
Roll survival. 15.
All right.
You smell the air. You smell which way it's stronger, which way it's coming from. You test which direction the wind is coming from, what wind there is. And after 5 more minutes, you realize why it was so hard to see a tree with snakewood bark. Because the smell is coming from a birch tree. And it is only when you peel the bark away that you see the snake-like pattern underneath.
I see. All right. It's 3 pounds of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there enough here to get 3 pounds?
Roll me a D100. $84 easily.
Okay.
There's enough here to get plenty more than that if you wanted to.
I think he'll try to get 4 pounds of it, because
Roll a survival to peel off the bark and keep it intact.
Okay.
You successfully harvest 4 pounds, but you destroy about 2 pounds.
Oh man.
So you have 4 pounds, and there's just a pile of unfortunate shavings on the ground. It's a good thing you rolled such a high D100. But it's interesting because as you're carving away the bark, it almost tingles on your knife with static electricity. It's almost as if the bark wants to cling to your weapon, to your fingers. And the small little shocks of electricity keep jumping to your fingertips as you're dealing with this bark.
He'll just kind of, after, like, he'll keep on as he's doing this, and he feels those shocks. He'll like rub his fingers together, like, to try and get the feeling off of his fingertips.
Right.
But it's no use, and after a little bit of work, he'll just get used to it and power through.
Sure.
And once he's done, he'll smile to himself, put it into a proper bag, and then he'll spin around to try and find Nox again.
She's gone.
All right.
She disappeared at some point while you were removing the bark from the tree.
It's a weird fucking day. Strange people. Uh,
There
all
is
right.
no one to reply.
Uh, he'll continue on to find the tangleweed. It's a tangle root
Tangle
weed.
root weed.
Yeah,
Yes.
tangle.
Okay. Uh, well, as you begin to search for that, roll me a d100.
Okay. Perfectly in the middle,
55.
almost.
Roll me a d10.
Okay. A 3.
Okay. Roll me a survival check.
All right.
With a 22, you begin making your way looking for trees that have roots that are uplifted, roots that are pulled up out of the earth. And as you're looking, you've been walking for about 15 minutes, and you kind of get the feeling, just with how this forest is so quiet, with how calm it is, with how peaceful it is, you find yourself holding your breath or walking softly, trying not to make as much noise as possible. It's almost second nature to you, by accident. And as you're looking at the tree roots ahead of you, a hint of movement startles you by one of the nearby oak trees. And when you look, that hint of movement resolves itself, and you find yourself looking at something that is hard to quantify. It looks as though it is a cluster of almost mist and leaves and seeds, pine needles, but they are swirling together as if made entirely of air. But what is pointed to you, what is poignant and standing out, is that the shape of this cluster of wind, it's shaped like a fox. And two of the seeds sit where the eyes would be, and it is looking at you.
He'll slowly um take the bow off his back and put down his bag and go down to one knee, setting the bow, keeping the bow in his hand. But he wants to get smaller and non-threatening.
Roll animal handling. "21.
Nice on my side today.
Apparently so. The quote-unquote fox seems to lower its head as if it is inspecting you. It does not seem afraid of you. It seems curious, as if it's waiting to see what you're going to do.
Just, I don't break eye contact with it, but I definitely don't make any sudden movements, and I let it perceive that I'm not a threat to it and see if it moves on.
It watches you for a long moment. A longer moment. 30 seconds. Until finally you watch as its small snout made of air seems to inspect the ground in front of it, and you watch as it slowly begins to move through the leaves and underbrush and out of your sight.
Can I make a nature check to see what that was?
Yeah, you can roll a nature. There's a chance you might know. A 19 for a 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard stories. You're in the Skywood, which you know is a magical place close to the elemental plane of air. You believe that was an elemental or a creature, basically of condensed air spirits. A beast, but of air form. An air fox.
He'll think to himself that that was probably the coolest interaction. I mean, this is today has been a multitude of cool interactions. Uh, so he definitely smiles at that, knowing that his training has served him well. Um, his background has served him well, and he'll get up, strap his bow to his back again, pick up his bag, and continue trying to find the tango root weed.
Okay. Man, if this has been a weird day for Kaelan, I'm stick around in the Skywood. Okay. As you resume looking for the root. You rolled well in survival. I need you to roll me a perception check.
Okay.
This is the easiest one to find. There's a natural one. There it is. The dice had to betray you at some point.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
You head amongst the trees, watching the roots, and you find yourself distracted. As you've said, this forest, your training has benefited you. And this forest seems to contain within it so many strange things that you've never seen down on the main world, as it were. It's bizarre. And you find yourself just kind of walking, not looking anymore, just enjoying the beautiful forest that you're in, the cool air. And as you're walking, you suddenly realize that you are not alone, as thunderous footsteps seem to be nearby. Just the sound of trees being pushed aside. And you realize you are approaching cloud giants.
Oh. He'll freeze for a second and try to find a hiding place.
Roll stealth. Roll stealth.
Hey.
24. Yeah, easily enough. You see that you manage to dive into underbrush and hide yourself in the shadow of a tree. And as soon as you did, rounding the corner on this wide game trail, you see that there are a cluster of 3 cloud giants. One of them with 2 enormous elk draped over its shoulder. And they are speaking to each other in quiet, calm voices. Do you speak giant?
I do. So yeah,
What
he'll
are the
definitely
odds?
be he'll definitely be listening to make sure that he's not found.
No, they didn't find you. They just simply say, you hear the first one say, "The hunting has been very bountiful today." And then the next one say,
"Right, but only if Lorik here could hit his shots, it would have been much better."
And the third one says, "You don't have to put such fine fingers on it," as they're making their way through. It sounds like a hunting party, just bantering with each other. They do not comment on you. They have not noticed you with your 24. They move on.
I think his intrusive thoughts would be like, oh, it'd be cool to just join this hunting party and just hunt with giants one time. But he staves away the intrusive thoughts. That's just a knee-jerk reaction, and he'll stay quiet and let them pass.
Okay. Yeah, they pass, and it is harmless. You realize maybe you might have wandered farther in your reverie than you realized.
Uh, he'll wait until the sound of the stomping completely leaves his perception, and he'll refocus and try to find this last thing.
Okay, roll me another perception check as you kind of shake that off.
Okay. Hey, that's much better.
22. Yeah. With a 22, it takes you about another 20 minutes of walking through the forest, looking for different trees, until finally you see there is what looks like a very thick ash tree that is almost completely uprooted. And you see that because that it is uprooted because there is a thick green tangle root that is pushing itself up underneath its roots.
Okay. He'll go up to it and extracting this. She needs a whole one.
Yep.
So,
So what you
he'll
know
try
is
to.
you need to try and get the root, like the main body of the root, which is going to be the tricky part. So this is going
Yeah.
to be a survival check to try and separate this from the tree.
Okay. He doesn't use his dagger for this, but he has essentially like a hunting hatchet that can serve as a makeshift like shovel as well
Sure.
to try and do that. But survival. Goodness.
With a 12, you do not get it free of the tree. It is hard work, and you find yourself sweating as you are trying to hack away and get this thick tangle root out from underneath this tree. It is tied to and nestled within in so many different ways, and you spend a good 10 minutes just trying to free this thing, and it won't come free.
God's help me. Let's try to find an easier one.
Okay.
And I'll look around for a smaller one. Maybe.
Roll a perception.
Okay.
Natural 20.
Wow.
Yeah, you look for about another 5 minutes, and you see that there is a smaller tangle root nestled up beneath what looks like just the edge of an oak tree.
Okay. Cool. He'll go right for it. Same tactic, but just better. Hopefully. Hey, that's a little better.
With a 17 and the natural 20 finding you an easier one, you successfully extract a tangle root.
Okay.
Also, your stomach tells you it is past lunchtime, which means you are likely running out of time.
Right. The gear came with rations, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So after he's done extracting it, he'll sit on the root of the uprooted tree that he just extracted this tangle root fat bag and just kind of take a little break to eat something.
Okay. You eat something quickly, and then I assume continue on your way.
Yeah. He'll spend a pause for a moment to try and feel that sun, that feeling of the sun on his face or neck or wherever the door is, and he'll head towards that.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to get a feeling of which way is back. You don't even need to roll for it. You just head in that direction.
Cool.
As you do, I need you to roll me another D100.
All right.
$14.
Ooh.
One of your boots suddenly sinks into a thick pit of mud that you had missed. It was hidden beneath the underbrush, and your boot immediately fills with cold, dirty water.
Ah. Right. Uh, he'll he'll try to extract it out, and
Roll me a strength check.
oh no.
Yep,
Athletics or strength?
strength.
I
It's an awkward angle. It's in the middle of this mud puddle. With a
Okay.
9, you cannot get your boot free, but you can try again. This is not
okay.
unless it's a natural 1. You'll be able to free the boot eventually. So roll again.
Give me my boot back. Oh my goodness.
Again, the boot is stuck fast and it is filling with mud. You can't seem to get a good grip on it as the slick leather is just, it's slippery as ice as you're trying to get a good hold on it.
All right. Fucking shit. He'll reach down, undo the laces, and pull his foot out of the boot.
Okay.
And then he'll try to, with both hands, extract the boot from the mud.
Okay. Roll me strength with advantage.
Okay.
You rolled an inconvenience.
Yes. Man.
12. You pull the boot free.
Okay.
DC was 10.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well.
Your right leg is now soaked with mud and cold water, and your boot is in your hands, full of mud.
Oh, I wish I knew some magic so I could just take this all away. And he'll clean off the boot of the mud before putting it back on and continuing.
Okay. You continue onward, and that was the random encounter you rolled. An annoying.
Wonderful.
Inconvenience.
I love it.
You arrive at the you arrive at the clearing by the entrance to the class. You see Triss is here. Tierre is not. Triss is what looks like she's actually got a spread of canvas out over a tree trunk that's been a stump, basically, and she's sorting through parchments. And as you arrive, she says, "Ah, made it back, did you?"
Hi. It's been a day. Weird happenings.
Is that good or bad?
No, it's wonderful actually. It just took a little bit more time than I was expecting. So
You didn't think I'd give you an easy task for your first one, did you?
I'm not here for easy tasks.
Well, good, because I wouldn't. That'd be a waste of time. Let's see what you got.
I agree. He'll produce the vial first, and then set down the 2 bags of the bark and the tangle root.
Awesome. As you set them down in front of her, she picks up the tangle root and looks at it. You can see that she's inspecting the main core of this strange, spiny mass of vine. Think of like a Tangela Pokemon, but it's just a plant.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So
Perfect. She nods and sets it down, and she looks at the bark, the snakewood bark, and she kind of runs her finger on it, and it just of static electricity as she does. She nods, and then she looks at the vial, and she holds it up, and she says, "No, you didn't get very much. It'll do." All
Oh,
right.
sorry. I kind of happened upon a garden.
A garden.
With this elf woman.
You found a dryad, Kaelan.
Oh, is that what it was? She kept trying and convince me to stay.
Yep, that's a dryad.
Huh.
They like forests. And apparently, she liked you.
Well, I had to trade something for that vial. So,
Well, it's a good thing you didn't just take it, or she might have made you stay against your will.
oh, well, that's good.
As for the bark, this is very potent snakewood bark. That'll do us well.
Oh, is it? Good. I got an extra pound of it as well.
Well done. Right. So,
So, can I ask what all this is for?
yeah, it's for your next step. Now, you could call it here and go off, get some dinner, relax for the rest of the evening. Or you could finish your lesson, do it today so you don't have to do it tomorrow.
I'll do it today.
Good. And she gestures for you to sit down opposite her as she kind of kneels next to the stump.
I'll take off his bow and his bag and put him next to him and sit down.
The first thing she does is she sets the tangle root on the stump between you and her. And she pulls out a survival knife, just basically a one-edged dagger, and thumps it into the stump. And she says, "How are you at making traps?"
I can make small game traps.
Well,
Nothing too big, but
Well, I'm about to teach you about a tanglefoot trap. The tangle root is perfect for a tanglefoot trap. You can see it binds itself around the roots of a tree, so all we have to do is cut the sinews of this tangle root in such a way as that it wants to bind around the first thing it touches.
oh, all right.
Then you wrap it up in a leather bag, you throw it at something, it'll tie itself up around their feet.
Sounds pretty useful.
It sure can be. And she hands the knife to you. And she begins to show you where to cut and how and why. And for this, I'm going to ask you to roll me 3 survival checks.
Okay. Oh, honey.
Okay, you only need to roll 1 more.
16.
You succeed. So you pick it up quickly. Perhaps the idea is simple enough, or maybe you've had previous experience with other traps you've learned to make. But you intuit exactly what she means by cutting at the crooks of the sinews of these vines. Maybe it's just because you had such a hard time with the first tangle root that you could see how it was so difficult to get loose. But quickly, you learn how to make a tanglefoot trap out of this tangle root.
Oh, is this mine or do I need to?
She looks at you and she says, "No, that's yours."
Thank you. He'll put it tuck it away in his bag.
Don't need to thank me, you made it yourself. But next, let's see that bow of yours.
Okay. He'll pick up his bow and present it.
She sets it on the stump, and next to it she lays out, well, all of the snakewood bark. But you can see that she just basically focuses on the original, basically stretch of it that stretches out like thick paper. And she sets the bow on it and she says, "Next, an old ranger's trick I've always liked to use. Anytime you have a bow that seems as though you can't quite hit what you're making for, you can take some snakewood bark, and while it still has energy to it, if you wrap it around the core of your bow, use it as an arrow rest, your arrows will fly a little bit straighter, a little bit truer."
Seems very useful.
It sure can be, especially for those of us who aren't so skilled with a bow. But that doesn't seem to be the case for you. In the meantime, why don't you go ahead and and she shows you how to cut the snakewood bark in a way that it keeps its energy, and then shows you how to secure it to the bow. So in this case, this is going to be another survival check.
Okay. Oh my god. I don't know what's going on tonight. It's just
That's pretty crazy. Another natural 20. You're a handyman. You know how to work with wood, and once she explains to you the cutting with the grain and working with the material, you understand. It's like you don't even need to be taught this. You cut the bark in such a way that its circumference is perfect to match the handle of your bow, and as you wrap it around, it secures itself and seems to fit almost as though a second layer around the bow. And for now, for basically about a week of in-game time, your bow is a +1.
wow. Okay. Cool. I guess where do I? Oh,
Just
my
add a
character
+1
sheet.
longbow, and we can deal with it later.
Okay. Can I add that on Foundry? Is that possible?
I can do that. Super easy right here.
Yeah, I'm trying to really
There-
utilize Foundry.
Good to know. Yeah, no problem. I can do that.
Oh, I better take one of those away.
Yep. Items. Hold on a second. Longbow +1. There it is. There it is. Right.
Great. Awesome.
And now, whenever you use the longbow and you draw an arrow, as the arrow is drawn across the sheaf of snakewood, you hear this just very subtle but quiet, just crackling noise of energy being imbued into the arrow.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
Let me tell you,
Uh,
very successful first day. Last though, the sap.
I
You'll need this for tomorrow. Let me see what you have.
he'll pick up the vial and just kind of hold it out.
She takes it from you, and before she does anything else with it, she pulls out a broad leaf that looks like almost like one of those enormous, not fern leaves, but it's a very, very broad leaf that she lays it on the stump, and she pours the sap out over the leaf, and then folds the leaf in half and begins to just rub it. And she says, "We need to break down this sap. Friction's a good way to do it. Otherwise, boiling it works. Or even leaving it out in the sun will do it too. But friction's the way I like to do it the most, because you'll lose the least of it.
Okay. So we're trying to dilute it.
Break it down. We're trying to destroy the fibers that make the sap so thick. And once we've done that, we can apply it to your arrows, and then that allows you, or you can apply it to a weapon as well, but I usually use it on arrows. And then, should you hit something with one of those arrows, there's a good chance they'll be paralyzed.
Wow. All right.
It's important to break it down first, though, because if you just use the stop straight out of the flower, it'll go bad in a minute after you've put it on your arrowhead.
All right.
But if you let it break down into an oil, it'll stay on there for, well, I've not seen it go bad yet.
And how many arrows can one vial coat?
Well, how much you brought me? Maybe 3.
I know where to find it. I just have to ask and bring another gift.
Maybe you should look for a different clutch, huh?
All right. I think, yeah.
I think you
maybe I
got
should
lucky.
listen.
Yeah.
It was very beautiful, but
Right, and for that, you can handle the rest of this. And she, gestures for you to do the rubbing on the leaf.
okay.
This is going to be another survival check to carefully basically rub the sap into its base component. Well, yeah, with a 20, you successfully do so. It takes a good
Great.
30 minutes, and your arms are tired by the end from the pressure. But when you are finally done, the sap has turned this sticky, almost brown substance between the leaf. And she says, good, good. Now you just rub it on your arrows that you'd like. And make sure
All
you
right.
keep note of which ones those are.
Make sure not to prick myself with it, huh?
That'll be a good call.
Right. All right. I will make note of that I have 3 use oil.
You have 3 torpor arrows.
3 torpor arrows. Okay. Oh, there is. This is okay. Cool. There's a note. There's a note section
Mm-hmm.
on the. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I like Foundry a lot.
Torpor. Torper.
Torpor.
Por arrows. Cool.
And once you've done that and you've put those arrows away, Triss kind of leans back and says, and the rest of the day is yours. Well done.
All right. Thank you.
I hope you use these skills again later.
I think they're going to be very useful.
She nods and smirks and stands up and says, I'm gonna go get a drink.
Sounds like a plan. I'm gonna go get something to eat.
That's fair. And as you're heading out, you suddenly realize Nox has emerged from the tree line, and she says, me too.
Get something to eat or something to drink? Which one?
I haven't ate all day.
Okay. Want to walk with me to the mess hall?
Yeah.
All right.
And she follows you out.
Yeah. I'll wave goodbye to Triss and make my way to the mess hall.
Okay. Well done. You
Yeah, that was
handled your first day as a ranger.
insane rolls.
That was pretty crazy. That was a lot of nat 20s. As you head to the mess hall, and Nox is walking with you, you notice that the Marigard is pretty full of people, and that is because it is basically dinner hour. And when you get to the mess hall, what is being served is, it smells extremely aromatic, and that's because it is a thick chicken stew that is being poured over potatoes, and it is just every platter is full of it, and everyone seems to be in pretty high spirits because of it. Do you just
Oh, starving. Let's go. Is it like a buffet? How does the mess hall like usually operate? Is it like a buffet line where the golems kind of just slop
no?
the food? No?
The
Okay.
way it works is during actual meal times, the counter that the counter that the golems work behind is extremely wide. It's the width of the whole mess hall. And
Oh wow.
as they make platters of food, they set plates full of food up on the counter for people to just come up and grab.
Okay, so kind of like a hospital
A bit
line.
a bit like that, except that the golems are so fast that there's never actually a line.
Oh, okay. It's just come and grab
Basically.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any hour that you go to the mess hall that is not actually a serving hour, they usually have a big pot of soup, a huge platter of bread and like cheese and butter, and just you can grab whatever you want. It's just during the actual serving hours is when they are actually putting out food that is fresh and hot and ready to rock right when you get there.
So it's around 6 o'clock in the evening right now.
This
is the
if,
rush.
Yes, this is the dinner. This is when people are showing up for meal.
Okay. Like a young 20-year-old male he would load up a plate like to the top,
Sure.
because metabolism was great back then.
Yeah, you're hungry too. You've spent all day in the woods.
Yeah. So yeah, he would load up on bread, cheese, the main meal, and just kind of like put it all on one plate.
Okay.
And,
Now, here comes the question. Do you look for an empty table or do you sit with someone?
I think he would attempt to look for Lilith,
Okay.
since she's the only real one person that took an interest in him.
Roll a perception check to spot Lilith.
Okay.
A 13. You look around for a good moment. Lilith is pretty unique looking, though, and you spot the pale tiefling across the left side of the room, seated at a table, and you see that she's seated with kind of a long, white-haired blue woman.
All right.
You go sit with them?
Yeah. Hey, Nox, do you know Lilith?
Nox looks up at you, and she's already got a mouthful of bread, and she just goes, "Rah."
All right. If you don't mind meeting new people, I'd like to go sit with them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I'll just go up and kind of plop down next to Lilith.
As you plop down, she looks over you, and she says, "Hey, partner. How'd it go?"
Hey, good evening. I think it went really well today. First day.
Lilith looks at Nox and says, "Who's this little shit?"
Another ranger student. This is Nox.
Nox finally swallows the bread and says, "Yeah." And Lilith says, "I like her style."
I thought you would.
Lilith gestures a thumb to the woman next to her, and before she can say anything, the blue woman says, "Hi, I'm Kana. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm a sorcery student."
Nice to meet you, Kana. I'm Kaelan. And he'll offer a handshake.
She shakes it vigorously. "Where are you from? Oh, your accent's so unusual."
From Trident.
"Another sailor. What's with all you? I've met a few lately. They're always so... what's the word I'm looking for? Adventurous. Boisterous. Angry. That's also one of them."
All of the above. You got it correctly. But more specifically from Phobos.
"Oh, I don't know it."
That's the only island with a volcano.
"I should know it then." "I just didn't read much about it. You hear about these sorts of things, and you know it's not part of where you're from, so you just don't really care about it, I guess. It's just not how I grew up anyway. Anyway, it's a pleasure to meet you. You're here as a ranger student, eh?
Yeah, that's correct.
What do you think of Tress? I've heard she's intense."
She knows what she's talking about. And as long as you listen and take it all in, I think you'll do fine. Or at least that's what I do, so.
Well, I hope you did fine. It's not I'm not gonna do fine. I'm not gonna ever fucking step foot in there. Are you kidding me? And Lilith says, "Slow down. Fuck."
Oh, you seem like the talker.
She is. I am.
Well, I don't know anything about magic, as sorcery class pretty cool, or?
Oh, it's fantastic. Honestly, if you get the chance to come by and just have a look around, it's really amazing. Some people can do some really incredible things. I'm from Zephyr, and my whole family, we're all about, the air magic and that sort of thing. And obviously, I'm an air genasi, so it comes in the territory. And Lilith's like, again, slow down, fucking, you're giving me a headache.
All right.
And Kana says, I'm sorry. I'm very excited about sorcery because it's what I was born with and the rest of my family was born with, and it's just a big deal.
Then I guess I won't talk about the thing that I saw today.
Why? What'd you see today?
Oh, I saw an air fox.
You saw an elemental!
Aye, yeah.
You see Kana, her face is aglow, and Lilith says, what the fuck is an elemental?
It's a magical being that looks like air, like a tornado of sorts, but smaller, more localized.
You lost me.
I'll have to show you one if we're ever out and about and we see one.
Lilith folds her arms and says, okay, I won't worry about it until then. And she takes a large bite of chicken stew.
Fair enough.
As you're sitting at the table and there are people filing about, roll me a perception check.
Okay.
One second. Don't worry about it.
Oh.
17. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Okay.
That'll come up later.
Fair enough.
As you're seated there eating, the chicken stew is delicious, and you gain 8 temporary hit points, which replace what you already had.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the golems did a good job of it.
Nice. So, Kana, right?
Yeah, Kana missed.
You know, the ranger classroom is on Zephyr. Did you know that?
No.
It is? And what's the name of the wood?
The Skyward.
It's Skywood. Yeah. We train in the Skywood.
Oh, that's no wonder you saw an elemental.
That's the first time. Well, I guess second time. Yesterday I was there meeting Triss, but yeah, it's my first time actually exploring.
Oh, the Skyward's beautiful.
I might have gotten distracted once or twice.
My hometown could oversee quite a bit of the Skyward. Not actually in it, but was, kind of nestled above it, on a mountain. But you can see over the Skyward, and it gleams gray in the winter, and it's beautiful.
I'd like to see that someday.
Well, if you're here in the winter, you'll see it for yourself if you're training there. You got a whole year after all.
This is true.
And then Lilith says, as long as you don't quit.
Why would someone quit?
Lots of fuckers quit.
Have you ever heard of someone quitting?
Yeah. 4 fighters quit this last month.
Really?
They couldn't hack it, or it was just too much work, or... Well, I guess what a lot of people do is they just get the equipment for the tuition, because it's nice equipment, better than what you'd get. And then they just leave.
Seems like such a waste.
Well,
I mean, pay for a whole year, free food, huh?
It's the work that people are afraid of.
At the end of the day, it's just work. I don't get it.
Lois shrugs and says, I can't fathom it. I think they're idiots. And next to you, Nox says, yeah. Idiots.
Well,
And Lois looks at Nox and says, what's your deal? You're quiet. And Nox says, sorry, I was just hungry. Haven't
yeah,
eaten
actually,
all day.
well, I'm glad you got some food.
Yeah, me too.
Where are you from, Nox?
She points, basically north and says, Carterstone.
Ah, okay. So, fairly close, closer than all of us.
She nods. Family were miners. Wasn't for me.
Can't imagine being in the dark a lot. Seems kind of stuffy.
Yeah, that's not my favorite. So then I got trouble in the law. Got myself, made a name for myself as a thief. And she gestures to the tattoos. I liked the look.
Oh,
And Lilith
looks.
nods and says, yeah, they're badass.
Oh, glad you're here and taking, taking this to heart. Anything interesting about Quarterstone?
Nox frowns and says, lots of paladins.
Very religious then.
Yeah, and they'll yell at you if you're not. It's exhausting.
I'd imagine.
Just go to Augur City if you want Aurelia. Don't go to Quarterstone.
Have you ever been to Augur City?
Where do you think I was a thief?
Okay.
And they kicked my ass
That's-
out, and that's why I'm here.
I see. This is Augur City's the closest city to this place, right? Or at least the major city closest.
It's the capital. But yeah, it's the closest, I guess. It's for Siren's Reach if you want to go sit in a resort and eat fish.
Hey, fish. I don't mind.
Oh, right, you're
Fish.
Tridonian. You would like fish. And Lilith
I
says,
do.
yeah, he does like fish.
It's a little bit cleaner, I think. It's been in the water all the time. Fish is. So.
Kanna's thinking about it, and she says, isn't that where they also, pee and crap and they swim in it?
Touche. You caught me there.
Doesn't sound that much cleaner.
Well, you swim in it, right?
I don't swim in it.
Oh, well.
I could fly. For a little bit.
Who said that?
Kanna.
Oh. That's pretty useful.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think I'm pretty useful. She, takes a bite of chicken stew. And Lilith is, rolling her eyes. And she looks at you and she says, don't let it go to her head.
Well. Any plans for after dinner?
I'm gonna get fucked up, said Lilith. Kanna says, I've got some studying to do, so I'm not going to do that, but you're welcome to go have fun. And Nox says, getting fucked up sounds nice.
I think I'll have one or two. It's been a long day. Dodging giants, going into Dryads territory.
Getting stuck in mud.
Oh, you saw that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
She shrugs.
You saw. When it comes to Tier, you saw nothing.
I didn't see anything.
Good.
The guy can be insufferable anyway.
Speaking of, is he? I'm gonna look for Tier now.
Roll perception.
Okay.
You see Tierra across the room. It looks like he's sitting with a few others. They're having a conversation, and he's eating dinner.
Okay. Can I look at the people that he's with?
Yeah, sure. You see there is a kind of red-haired woman that's wearing almost like a fur coat. You see next to Tier on the other side, you see a Goliath with very dark gray skin and black tattoos across it. They seem to be laughing about something together and talking.
Okay. Cool. All right. He won't look for long. Like, he won't stare. He'll
Okay.
just kind of like look for him, spot him, look at who he's talking to, and then. All right. Well, can I say that he's been eating this whole time?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm ready to go. Or Maryguard, or the one by the tavern by the docks.
As you ask that question, Kana suddenly stands up as a blonde-haired dwarf suddenly blasts by one of the benches and hugs Kana, and they basically just kind of have this very excitable reunion. And you suddenly feel very much like the fifth wheel, as there's this excited chattering between the two of them as if chickens suddenly got out of a henhouse.
Oh boy.
And then the dwarf looks at the rest of you and says, "Well, we're going to the Merry Guard, aren't we?" And Kana says, "Lilith, Kaelan, Nox, this is Sigona." And Sigona is a dwarven cleric, and she holds out a hand to each of you and shakes Lilith's hand, holds her hand out to you. Do you shake it?
Yeah.
It's a
Good
very
evening.
stout grip, and she says, "Good evening, it's a pleasure." And she shakes Nox's hand, and she says, "Right, so we're going to get fucked up, right?" And she shoves Kana with an elbow, and Kana says, "I really can't." And Sigona says, "Come on." And Kana's like, "Okay. Right, yes, we'll go to the Merry Guard." And Lilith looks at you and says, "Guess that's the mind made up."
All right. I don't mind it. As long. You know, I quite like the guy that does the magic. Maybe we should get a table with him.
Lilith looks at you and she says, "Who are you talking about?"
Never mind.
So you head to the Merry Guard.
Yeah.
Okay. You get to the Merry Guard, and do you intentionally look for a light? The
Well,
specific
is it
tiefling
busy?
leader? Yeah, it's pretty busy. It's not crammed, but it's dinner hours, so
Well,
they're pretty busy.
he's not gonna like specifically look for a table and that he's serving. If it's busy, then he'll just take
Okay.
whatever's available.
Roll me a d6, and we'll see who you get.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. As you
Didn't matter.
sit down at a table, a familiar blue tiefling walks up and says, "Welcome to the Merry Guard, where it is your duty to be merry."
He'll be merry.
And
Yes.
some confetti floats up from behind him, and he says, "What can I get you all?" And Lilith, as seated next to you, is like, "Whiskey." And Sagona says, "What she said. I like her style." And Kana's like, "An ale."
I'll take an ale as well.
And Nox also says, "An ale." And the, the tiefling waiter nods and leaves to go get your drinks. Now, as you spend some time here at the Merry Guard hanging out with these individuals, Kaelan and 4 women.
I don't know how that happened.
That's what the dice say, man. I mean, I rolled to see who appeared, and that's who appeared.
Wonderful.
That's how it goes. We are going to ask if you're going to get wasted, or if you're just going to get lightly buzzed, if you're just going to have a good time, or if you're going to be aggressive about it.
No, he's gonna be responsible, and not maybe 1, 2 at tops.
Okay.
And he's gonna nurse it, make sure that he doesn't get. He keeps a buzz, like a sociable buzz.
Okay.
So.
Do you get the nice tasting ale, or do you just get the cheap stuff?
It gets the nice stuff.
Okay, so then you spend basically a silver on elderberry ale. It is delicious. It goes down smooth, and you can't help but feel a little bit rejuvenated. On top of
right.
Buzz.
Wonderful. That's what's missing from this sheet. It doesn't have actual, like, the gold.
It does. You just have to enter it. It's at the top in your inventory next to currency.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything in there yet.
If you want to keep track of it on Foundry, yeah, we can just punch it in now.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. But yeah, I think he'll keep a sociable buzz, and then hang out for a few hours.
As you are hanging out, roll me just a charisma check to see how you handle the conversations in the evening.
Okay. Aye.
9. You're a bit awkward. There's lots of conversation going on between Kana and Sagona. Over the conversations, you learn that Sagona is a cleric of Nier, the god of storms.
Okay.
You learn that Kana is very much a storm sorcerer.
Okay.
You learn that Lilith doesn't care about either of them. She hangs out with Kana because she thinks Kana is interesting, but basically the vibe you get from the table is that Lilith thinks Sagona is obnoxious.
Okay.
And you learn that Nox, who once was a criminal, now has taken up the trade of a ranger to try and stay out of towns.
Okay.
That is the information you gather from the conversation you hear at the table. If you had rolled better, you might have learned more. However, after you've been hanging out for a couple hours, and the waiter has brought you some sparkling firework engrossed ale, of course. Hold on a second here. The minstrels within the Merry Guard begin to play, and as that happens, Lilith looks at you and says, "We're gonna dance now, yeah?"
I haven't done much dancing, but sure, you can.
"I've had just enough lubricant. Let's get the fucking alcohol going. Let's dance." And she pulls you to your feet.
All right. Little awkwardly, he'll allow it.
Oh, good. All right, roll a performance.
Oh boy, this is definitely something he is so good at. Yeah.
Oof. That's
Yeah.
a 4. Okay. You are a terrible dancer tonight. Maybe it's the drunk, maybe it's the fatigue, whatever it is. Lilith doesn't seem to care, as she is also a terrible dancer. The two of you kind of stumble about on the dance floor, You do keep rhythm, kind of. Lilith
It's
is
a-
a very strong woman. She's not super tall, but she is stoutly built, and she knocks over several other dancers and thinks it's the funniest shit she's ever seen.
Okay.
But after dancing for a good 15 to 20 minutes, Lilith slumps back down onto the table. Is there something before that happens that you wanted to do?
I just imagine it's a lot of like the shopping cart and the sprinkler.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
It's pretty
just
cheesy.
terrible, cheesy dance moves. Yeah. No, other than that, nothing else.
Yeah.
Uh,
After you dance around for a bit and have a good time, the alcohol releasing those inhibitions, and you're sitting at the table. Kana Mist looks at the two of you and she says, "That was appalling. That was
Oh.
terrible." Oh,
I'm
my
sure it
goodness.
was, and I do not care.
The, the next time we come here, I'm going to have to show the two of you how to actually dance.
The more I learn, the better.
Good. I'm not doing it tonight. I can't. The secondhand embarrassment. Oh my goodness. And she's like cupping her cheeks in her hands and looking at the table. And Sagona says, "Don't take it personal. Anybody that doesn't dance the way the Urgenasi do are just wrong by Kana standards. I think it was glorious."
Thank you. Who said that? It was Lilith?
No, it was
Lil-
Sagona, the dwarf.
Oh, Sagana. Thank you. A woman of taste, then.
A certain kind of taste. And she like slams the mug onto the table. But as you spend some time having fun with these individuals, maybe preparing for the next day, getting yourself basically unwinding after the tense adventure you've had in the morning and afternoon.
Yeah.
At the tavern, with a couple drinks in you, that is where we are going to stop tonight's session.
Great. Awesome. That was very, very cool. Lots of cool interactions.
Good.
Yeah.
I am glad you had a good time. Very well done with the problem solving and the crazy rolls.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
6 natural 20s.
Oof. How did you feel about the challenges themselves?
They were good. They were very challenging. I felt like a ranger, like I was doing the good ranging stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt real.
Good.
Is the record okay?
It's still recording, but I just want to say thank you for playing with me tonight. The session is going to be up on YouTube as quickly as possible, and I will see you next week.
Great.